Dueling Dialogues presents His and Hers with Grace Matthews, The Hammer, and Connor Murphy.
Welcome to episode 10 of His and Hers with Grace Matthews and the Caddyman in the heart of the USA, Springfield, Missouri. Hi, you two.
Hello, hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. It's Thursday already.
It is Thursday already, and we're moving towards the weekend, and that makes us happy.
Yes, of course.
And it's actually going to be above 80.
Yeah,
That's
we're
good.
looking at a good one here, too. So,
Good deal.
woohoo.
Yeah. Okay, our thought for the week. Most people have heard this, but think about it, internalize it, and make it what you're all about. Be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely. And you want to know why we do this show? Because we really suck
We
at
suck at it.
relationships. We
Yeah.
really do. And we want someone to learn from our mistakes because we had a hell of a time trying to learn from our mistakes.
You know, and let it be known that we do give 100%, maybe 110% at our sucking.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a full-fledged effort to. It has to be for us to suck it so bad at some of these things, and we will look back sometimes weeks, months, whatever, and we go, how did we do that? How did we not see that?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think we're blind, literally. But eventually we do see.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We are blind, but we can see.
After 32 years, 37 years, however you want to look at it, we have more good days than bad.
Good to hear.
Anyway, we're talking about OCD again.
Okay.
We seem to have a lot of support for last week's show, and we want to thank Caddyman for being so candid.
Woo!
Yeah. We want to look at OCD in the family because if someone in the family has obsessive compulsive disorder, it affects the whole family.
Right.
We're going to be referring to Brainlock. It's a book by Jeffrey Schwartz MD. We're particularly talking about today chapter 6, which is OCD in the family. This book, I always like to be very honest because we do review a lot of books, especially on Dueling Dialogues and on Shenanigan Free Press. This is apparently the only really valued treatment book out there for obsessive compulsive disorder. And let me tell you, it's very textbookish. It's at times boring.
Right.
It's written that way. I mean, definitely Dr. Schwartz knows what he's talking about.
Okay.
He came up with the 4 R's, okay? And I do want to mention the 4 R's because it is the way you deal with OCD. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on that, but it's relabel is number 1, okay? You want to talk about what relabel is?
Yes. Relabel is where you relabel what is happening to you.
Okay.
Like an intrusive thought.
Yes, like something sneaks into your mind and
You're wanting to recognize it, maybe?
Yes, you want to recognize what you're doing and make sure that you know what it is and then you get into the second reattribute. Exactly. Which is your second R. And that's where you say, this is not me. It's my OCD.
Exactly.
This is not a character of mine. I don't do these things. This is uncharacteristic of my behavior.
Right.
Then you have to refocus your thoughts because by refocusing, it goes away because you have broken the chain.
Yeah, and you can do it in a lot of different ways. We talk about Caddyman taking a walk.
Yeah.
Meditating.
Right.
Just doing something else. I mean, what seems to work best for you?
It seemed like these were hitting me a lot at my desk. I was sitting, getting up and walking, if I was doing something, putting it down and start doing something else. It's not that hard to do when you recognize it's not that hard to do. But by not recognizing it, you fall into what I call the fog.
Right.
And when you're in the fog, there is no way out. It's just like being in a fog. You can walk around and you can't find your way nowhere. You are just completely lost.
And that brings it to the revalue, where you actually basically devalue the compulsion or the obsessive behavior.
Right.
Okay, where you say, this isn't right, this isn't me, this is
I don't need this.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this.
Exactly.
Right.
So
okay. Cool. So relabel, reattribute, refocus, and revalue.
Exactly.
All right.
And that is the secret formula to curing OC without drugs.
Right.
Now, if you don't let your OC get too bad, you can definitely do it without medication and even therapists. I'm sure they probably don't like us to say that, but there are a lot of people that agree to that.
Right.
So, what about the family? Like most diseases, when one person in the family has it, everybody has it. The staff at UCLA says that patients tell them, I'm driving my wife crazy, pushing my friends away from me. My family can't stand it anymore. I have to stop doing this. That's what they say when they come in.
Right.
It's not really that they're driving themselves crazy, because they really have protected it so much and even valued it, because if you have an obsessive thought, you need to calm yourself down. That's where the compulsions come in. So when the compulsions come in, they're actually feeling better.
Right. But
the family is not.
Right. So they're pushing people away.
So one of the first things you've got to do is know that you cannot enable this person. You've got to learn to say no.
Right.
However, family members try to protect the OC patient, and so they make everything worse. They do it over and over again. It's hard, but you must resist, because the consequences hurt the road to recovery.
Right.
And, a lot of times the person will use the OCD as a weapon. In fact, a lot. And they will have tantrums if you do not do things they want you to do.
Yeah, okay.
You have to learn to resist.
They play on you, believe me. We will use it to our advantage.
Yeah. And eventually all this energy may be poured into trying to cope with the person's illness. I mean, it is exhausting. They may plead with the person to stop, but they will also lie.
Right.
To get you to do what they want so that they can continue their compulsions.
Okay.
The people that are trying to protect the OC person will also lie. They will lie to the OC person so they don't trigger them. There's one example for where a husband had places that were off limits for his wife to go to because he felt like she would get something bad would happen. So she would come home and lie to him that say, I didn't go there so he wouldn't have a tantrum.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So what you do when you do that is you make it worse.
Right.
She is sabotaging his progress. It's very easy to do. And the enabler can also become as much a part of this as the actual OC patient. So you must refuse to participate. Don't become a prisoner of the OCD.
Okay.
And that's to all family members. You know, even children sometimes, especially checkers. Checkers will say, you know, son, go check the oven.
Right.
The kid might come back in the other room. He goes, son, go check the oven. I mean, that could happen 50, 100 times in an evening.
Wow.
And the kid goes and does it. Be ready to confront the OCD patient.
Okay.
And always ask, am I helping or hurting their progress?
Yes, here's a big thing too. The OC person does want help. He does not want to be like this, but he has trained himself to behave in this certain way, and he knows it is. He's doing this, but he also knows how comfortable it is. He knows how safe it feels for him. He doesn't really expect any bad thing to happen because he's used this certain plan, habit, whatever you want to call it, for periods of time, and it has worked perfectly. Now, when he gets the help of the family, if they suck into it, now he has even help doing that.
Right.
And
so you have to call him out on it.
Well, and sometimes answer me this. The OC patient needs help because it's exhausting.
Yes.
They have so much to do to keep up with the compulsions. It's hard to keep up with the rest of their life. They're busy. They need help.
Your mind never quits.
Wow.
It is just like if they show the universe, they show these shooting stars going off just all over the place, like it just never stops, like it just boom, 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 boom. That's kind of what your brain is doing with different thoughts and trying to manage all those and still perform all the habits that you need to perform. You are working full time all the time, and so it's a mess.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand is how much time. And so, in the beginning it might be a little bit, but that grows.
Right.
And it might grow very little over a year's time. But eventually it becomes more than they can handle if they don't get treatment.
Wow, that is eye-opening. I had no idea.
And yeah, the suffering or the suffering is probably not the word I want to use, but the load on the family, or especially a spouse a lot of times, or a partner, can be exhausting. This woman actually said that she actually would have heart palpitations if she did something that went against her husband's OC.
Wow. Okay.
She said she would be out and start sweating as if she robbed a bank. And she had the guilt feeling. So she became so much a part of his OC that it really became her problem too.
Right.
I mean, personal problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and in the meantime, she's sabotaging his progress.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's enabling. As a side note on this enabling, I want to tell you that if you are a spouse that does not enable, be ready, because they will find somebody that will. They will make and create relationships, and I'm not talking about sexual relationships, that enable them where they have enablers.
Right.
It's a very complex disease.
Wow, I didn't realize it was continually growing like that and getting worse. I had no idea.
Yes, it does, because of the pathways that develop in the brain. Okay? It's kind of like Cattymann's therapist says, it's like opening doors. And to me, it's like your brain, looking at your brain like it's a maze, and then little doors opening where they shouldn't.
Right.
And creating pathways that are dysfunctional.
Right.
Okay? The bottom line is always this. Is the family member helping or hindering the person's effort to make progress and heal?
Right.
And you really have to think about that.
Well, it's such a fine line to know when to step in, intervene. You have to intervene to stop the madness.
And well, exactly. And like I said, the OC patient is so overwhelmed with the rituals, the intrusive thoughts, the compulsions that it is, they're not logical.
Right.
I mean, they are not being logical. OC, when it gets at its peak, takes away and robs the person of any ability to be logical. We see that in Howard Hughes. I think that Leonardo DiCaprio very much shows how he became this brilliant man, became so illogical.
Right.
When you start therapy, you got to draw a line in the sand. When you start, and I mean formal therapy, or you just decide enough is enough, we are going to take care of this problem. You have to draw a line in the sand, and you have to use tough love. You have to refuse to let them do any, even the ones that seem like it's okay. For example, Caddyman had his days of the week, his outfits, and that really, I always looked at it for a long time like, well, that's not hurting anybody. I don't care.
Right.
Pick your battles. Nope, you can't let any of those get by.
Right.
Because, see, it's opening up those pathways in the brain.
Right.
Unfortunately, with the OCD, if you are given an inch, you will take a mile. You have to stop it completely. You can't just say, well, I'm going to stop this part of it.
Exactly.
No, you have to break the entire chain of events and throw them into a completely different order. So you have to think what you're doing, not just doing it by reaction and by habit. And I think I've said this before on the show. We have this guru that we've seen, his name's Sadhguru, and he explained it about as well as anybody I've ever heard, saying there is no such thing as a good habit. Because if you are not thinking about it, what you're doing, anything even as minute as brushing your teeth, then it's bad, because at that moment you are not present. You are in the black hole, the fog, whatever you want to call it. You're in it and you are not there.
Right.
We're going through the motions. Now, is it silly to think that everybody, when they brush their teeth, says, I'm brushing my teeth and it's really a good deal because I'm not going to have any cavities and my breath's not going to stink and blah, blah. We could go on. No, people don't do that. But there's got to be a moment in there where you go, brushing my teeth, that's good to do today.
Yeah, maybe I better get that back to
did I feel a piece of corn way back there? That place that I always have to dig out with the toothpick, I mean, it could be something stupid, but you've got to make your mind come to reality. You can't just be in a dream world your entire life. I mean, we all have our idiosyncrasies that we do, and they're fine. But you can't get to where you can't recognize them. So see what you're actually doing and think about.
Well, and they need to not become ritualistic either. Okay, so who is the stranger? How do family roles change? Okay, there are different times in the development of the illness that roles change. During serious episodes, I mean, today we happen to be talking about a husband that has it. It can certainly be a wife, or it can even be a child, okay? But during those episodes, family members have to take on a different role. For example, the mom can have to become the mom and the dad.
Right.
She can become the caretaker of the husband.
Right.
Or the enabler. She almost takes on a parental role at times. Okay, and during the healing, those roles can change again. Children sometimes will take on a parental role with their parent. So there's lots of role changes throughout this illness, and family dynamics, of course, can dictate that.
Right.
And family members may, when someone's healing, family members may even resent that and be jealous, especially ones that have their own issues. And believe it or not, they will sometimes try to sabotage the progress. And we've seen that before, where, at times when Cattymane was improving, we saw people that were like, weren't that happy about it.
No.
Because especially people that he's sort of dependent upon a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly, as Dr. Schwartz writes about it, this is true for almost every case.
It can change the enabler's world, your family's world, your friends' world, your coworkers, because if you have been behaving a certain way for a long period of time, they know where you're coming from.
Exactly.
So now you're trying to break the chains, and so you start acting differently, and they don't know what the hell's going on,
right?
It's like,
and know that
where's this coming from?
An OC person only lets a few people in their world close, because there's an intimacy issues, okay? And so it is an alienating disease, because even though you might be existing at the world at a desk, you will basically practice social distancing.
Right.
I mean, since that's on everybody's mind, but mostly also emotional distancing.
Well, listening to all of this and learning as we go along here, I'm seeing a lot of parallels to as if, a member of the family was a drug addict.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it's the same thing. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it does parallel, and a lot of addicted people are self-medicating from OC.
Oh, I see.
Now, that did not happen to be our case. There was not an alcohol or a drug abuse.
Right.
But most of the time, you're very right. It is.
It's the same thing. The OC person does not see reality. And as I have talked about it with Grace before, and everyone has, have you ever been the sober one in the group, and someone's drunk and you try to reason with them?
More times than I will.
Yeah. Now, is that not a trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it doesn't happen.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing here. The OC person is not seeing reality, so he cannot make a rational decision. So he's fighting you, or she,
on nail.
I mean, because in their mind, things are different because they aren't there.
Right.
Exactly. Now, I want to make a quote the author here. Although I am convinced that OCD is more a biological and emotional than an emotional disorder, there is almost certainly an interface between the two. In therapy, the person must be honest about these underlying issues if he or she is to get the maximum beneficial effects. I want to bring that up because be careful about your therapist. If your therapist is so focused on the 4 R's that they cannot understand that this has taken an emotional toll on you and your family, get another therapist.
Right.
Because the emotional toll cannot be left and swept under the bed someplace.
Right.
And so that's a very important to remember because, also once someone is cured of the actual OCD, you do have these other issues, things that happened.
Right.
You have to find a place for them. You have to understand why they happened. And you're also living with a stranger all of a sudden.
Right.
Because these things develop so slowly that you don't know this other person. Now, in our case, it happens to be a delight, okay? Because that other new person, free of the OC, it's just like,
right.
marrying somebody new.
Yeah. A better person of the old version.
It's a whole new life.
Right.
And the caddy man will tell you, in fact, I'd rather him tell you that he had quit tasting. What did you insert that for us?
One of the biggest realizations that happened to me was, and I guess I tried to put it out of my mind because it didn't seem rational, but I couldn't smell, I couldn't taste, things didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I heard things correctly. I didn't take things correctly. It was all kind of that you were existing in a dream. And then when you snap out of it, you can call it enlightening, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I call it just coming out of the fog. When you come back to reality, one of the first things I told Grace was, hey, I tasted something. Or, those scents that you put in my bathroom? I can actually smell them. You don't know what it's like to be able to feel the 5 senses sensation unless you haven't had them.
Right.
Take them for granted.
It's just like like if you can't see, or, they have these accidents where people can't see, they can't hear, whatever, and then they can again. Let me tell you, they cry with joy. It's the same way. You realize how much you depend on the 5 senses to live. And having all your faculties back to where you can function, no wonder your mind clears up.
Right.
It's a job.
You got to work at being.
Well, which brings me to our next topic, which is emotional burnout. Okay, you can have these compulsions, needing to do them, and still doing them, and you are totally flipping burned out.
Right.
Okay? And most of all, I wanted to talk about work, home, exercise, and relationships, where you are doing that. You're working so hard, and you are so burned out, and you hate it so much, but you have to do it. Can you give us some tiny little insight into what that's like?
Like working, like you feel like you cannot miss work because you cannot miss what's going to happen there at work. That's your sanctuary. A lot of people hide at work because at work you can be as structured as you want, and they think you're the greatest employee since sliced bread.
Right.
You are. If you take a model employee, where they say, "Oh man, he does his job. He didn't cause any problems. He's busy all the time. He comes, never hanging around the water cooler, shooting the shit with the people. It's all that stuff. Well, that's all great, except I promise you, he or she has some sort of OCD. It's just because you are so wrapped up in doing the keeping the chain going. And like myself, a big part of mine was going to the gym to work out. If I missed that workout, I told Grace I was going to have a bad day.
And he just didn't say that like you or I might say it. Like, I'm starting the day out bad. And you don't really, he would internalize that so much. In fact, I want to quote one line from the author. OCD-fueled fears can be much stronger than any other emotions, including love and grief. Wow. And we can attest that the fears of needing to do that can far outweigh anything else you need to do in your life, you want to do in your life, and anything else you feel in your life.
I had it so bad that the person that ran the gym, like if the weather got real bad and she could not make it in to open it when we all met there, I had her, she called me at home and said, I can't make it. No gym today. And it was like, oh my God, what am I
crisis.
I've got an hour and a half, 2 hours here. What am I can't.
But this bleeds over into relationships, parenting. Nothing rises above. I once told one of my kids when we first were telling about this that it will basically do anything for the compulsion, and he was like really mad at me. Why did you say that? No, because it's true. I'm not exaggerating.
Right.
And that's how important it is. And they're very needy people when they're in an episode. Very needy.
Oh yeah, you are so attached to the need. You don't care where it comes. You just got to fulfill the need. It's just like you mentioned earlier, a drug addict. He doesn't care where he gets it, who he gets it from. As long as he gets it, that's all they care about. They don't care if the other person had to hurt somebody. It doesn't matter. The end result is, it's almost like I had a teacher, his favorite saying was by Machiavelli the Prince, the end justifies the means. And that's actually what an OCD person is and a addict is. They don't give a damn. As long as they get their, quote, fix, they could care less how it manifests.
Well, absolutely. And they're already isolated by the terrible secret. Because even when they find an enabler out in the world, they have kept the actual OCD a secret.
Right.
And so this carries over. And in fact, one of the things when they finally conquer the OC is what you see in the Cattleman right now. It is a liberating feeling.
Good.
He feels remarkably liberated.
Alive.
Like someone's wiped your windshield.
Yeah, I can actually see now.
Good. Good to hear.
And that leads us to a point like to tell or not to tell. Cattleman has chosen to tell.
Right.
And he is very hopeful that he can help other people. And I think that's very possible.
Right.
If he helps
totally
one person,
so.
it's worth it. Yeah. And now this is a 2-part segment.
Okay.
This was the first half. Stay tuned next week for the second half of how the OCD affects family.
Right.
And,
okay. I have to thank the Cattleman once again for your bravery and, coming out and speaking about this, because so many people I know are OCD, but they keep it well packed down there somewhere.
Yeah, and people do, don't they? But we are so proud of him, and we are so lucky that he's coming forward.
And if we can just help 1, 2, 3 people, it's all worth it. And it is very curable. That's the thing that people have to understand. This is something that's not terrible. It's curable. And we just have to recognize it and handle it correctly. And a lot of this, like Grace said, can be handled without drugs. And if it's gotten too far, a little bit of drugs and a lot of help goes a long way. Absolutely. It's not like you've got to reinvent the wheel. It's something that sometimes a sentence, a word, anything to break it stops it.
Or, just saying, or just taking the damn vacuum away from them when they start just vacuuming and vacuuming.
They're just a little bit more hair over there than all of us.
No.
Well, I'd hate to be an enabler, but Caddyman, you can come over and vacuum at my place anytime.
Yeah. Well, she says, why couldn't you? She always says, why couldn't it be windows?
Yeah.
Why is it
vacuuming? Yeah. Why does it have to be something noisy? Anyway, we want to end today with our affirmation. Remember, affirmations are what you're striving to do, not necessarily what you've achieved.
Right.
We are messengers of love, happy, healthy, financially prosperous, great partners and parents. We are charitable, energetic, creative trendsetters that experience success every day. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks for everybody that has newly followed us because of the OC episodes. We appreciate the professionals that we picked up this week.
Good.
Thank you, everyone, and have a happy and safe week.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah. See you soon. Bye now.